Good morning. It's Michael Raziano. I'm running for vice president on the Solidarity slate um, in this year's upcoming election here next month. So we're continuing our educational series on the Surface Transportation Assistance Act for all of you commercial drivers out there, freight handlers, uh, mechanics, uh, and actually some bus drivers who qualify for all these protections. And the next one we left off, we were discussing that we're actually on the ill or fatigued operator rule. That's what all this is about. But there are other protections that are there for you. Uh, the next one is refusing to drive an overweight load. So dispatchers and supervisors have a tendency to try to coerce you, uh, which is also illegal, and we'll get into that. I can actually get into that on another video. There's a federal law called the anti-coercion law that we can get into later. But refusing to drive if you're overweight is a protected activity. Doesn't matter if you're going around the block, down the street. Doesn't matter where you're going, whether you're crossing the scales, because a lot of them like to say, well, are you crossing the scales? Well, it doesn't matter. If the load is overweight, you are illegal to be on the highway. If you were to pull that overweight load down the road and something bad happens, be rest assured you are definitely going to be held accountable. Okay, whether you're taking out a light pole, or hitting a car, it doesn't matter. They pull you over and they find out you're overweight and you had an accident, or you're at the scales, uh, you got a problem. So your refusal to drive and pull an overweight load is a federally protected activity. Make them fix it. Go back to the warehouse or whoever loaded you up, make them make the load legal. Uh, if another one is if you get into your truck and it's something as small as a marker light, okay, uh, your marker lights are a required piece of safety equipment. And I personally had experience coming back from San Diego several years ago where I had a marker light went out on me at my last stop. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Got pulled in scales. Yep, fix it ticket. So make sure that all your lights are working. If they're not working, make them fix it. Doesn't take that long, and it's a important piece of safety equipment. Uh, if you have any exhaust leaks, you're smelling any fumes, you definitely need to get that checked out. And you're protected against pulling that load or truck. If it's loaded, I mean, it would be a reefer. But if you're smelling anything unusual in the cab of the truck, that needs to be addressed immediately because that could turn into a very dangerous situation. Speeding. I don't know what it is here in Southern California, if all these drivers are just getting paid by the mile. But I see a large number of companies who I know are getting paid by the hour, and these guys are doing 10, 15, 20 miles over the speed limit because they pass me up like I'm not even moving. They can't force you to speed, guys. And the faster you drive that truck, especially if you're loaded, well, even if you're not loaded because it's harder to stop an empty vehicle, but the faster you're driving, the less reaction time you're going to have. And we all know how dense the traffic and the car situation here is in California. There's no reason to be driving 65, 70 miles an hour in a 55 posted limit. Okay? I understand you want to get where you're going, but is that few miles an hour actually worth that much risk? Because if you can't stop and you wipe out a family of four, believe me, they're not going to care that you had an 8 o'clock, appointment down the street. That's going to be the least thing that they're going to care about, and it's going to be the beginning of some major, major problems for yourself and your driving career if anything that unfortunate happens. Refusing to drive in hazardous weather. That is also a protected activity. All right. Not so much here in California other than the snow. But if you're somewhere and it's so foggy you can't see, in the Midwest when I lived in Illinois, there were a few times that I couldn't even do 15 miles an hour. It was so foggy. So I turned the truck around and went back to the yard. And went later when the fog lifted. If the weather is bad and dangerous, I just don't mean a little rainstorm. If it's raining so hard and you got your wipers on full blast and you can't see a damn thing, and water's puddling up on the highway already, you might want to think about pulling over for a little while and waiting until the weather passes. But driving inclement weather and bad weather is a protected activity, and you cannot be disciplined for it. Thoroughly inspecting your vehicle to make sure that it's safe. So a lot of these companies have these fabricated yard times. Okay. Again, this circumstance here is going to depend on how big your facility is or where you have to go to get your truck and trailer and scale it out and all that. But here at Albertsons, they still actually have, they want you out of the yard in 35 minutes. Okay. Well, I proved to them that 35-minute is a complete fabrication, because I took every step needed to get out of the yard and I assigned a time value to that. And because math doesn't care. Math doesn't care what's going on. If the numbers work, the numbers work. If the numbers don't add up to 35 minutes, then something has to be eliminated for you to make that 35-minute yard time. And so I did the steps, and I actually have a printout I made, because I gave it to dispatch when they refused to give me their time standard. And now they're leaving us. I don't want to say they're leaving everybody alone, but if you're doing your stuff in a reasonable amount of time, they're just not even going there, because I can prove that their time limit doesn't work. So I assigned a time value to it. There was a supervisor who I had a good relationship with. Off the books, I asked him to take a look at it to see if my times were relatively accurate. He went over it, and the next day he got back to me. He said, "Mike, it looks really, really good. It looks really close." And I told him, I said, "I understand it could fluctuate, a little bit here or a little bit there, but is it relatively close?" He goes, "Yeah, I think that's a really good, accurate assessment." Well, my time came out to 58 minutes and 30 seconds, not 35. So my point being is some of these companies are going to try, again, influence you and threaten you to run out of the yard without doing a proper pre-trip, and that is completely and totally unacceptable. And I guarantee if we're elected, that crap's gonna stop. Okay? Because I can prove mathematically that their standards aren't accurate. All right. And the last one on this list is falsifying your logbooks. And now, most, if not all, everybody's already on the ELDs. However, management does play games with those as well. All right. If you are short on time, and you're one of the drivers who likes to bend the rules, because I'm not your babysitter. I'm just here to educate you. What you do is what you do. But if they falsify your logs, that is a felony. I believe it's a class 3 felony. So, again, if you're tired and wore out and you still keep running and something bad happens, don't think they're not going to come after you and the company on that one. All right, you run out of hours and you're running with no sleep, rest assured, if you have a problem, the individuals who are negatively impacted by that will come after you. Okay? So we'll have another video next Tuesday, and we'll get into some other issues. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a great day. Stay safe. Thank you.